Hey, so in this video I will be talking about like what I did last week with the Easter egg references and then predictions. But so yeah, be careful of spoilers if you have not caught up to episode 4 of this season, because I will be spoiling a lot of things. The biggest takeaway from this episode wasn't actually anything from the episode itself, but what or like comic books references and stuff like that, but what the writer actually confirmed what actually he did was actually took lines from a game called Overwatch and used them for specific characters. Like there's two characters in the game called uh, Tracer and Junkrat, and they gave Simmons Tracer's uh, like lines and Junkrat to James's character. And Simmons's character's lines were a lot more vague than James's Hellfire's lines, because uh, Shields basically only said you got it and just in time. So those were a lot more vague. But then uh, James's lines were, "Stop me if you heard this before," or "a nice how do you do," and it's a nice a night for a little mayhem. Like those are a lot more like obvious than what Simmons's Tracer's lines had, but it's it still fits with the characters of who they were from the game to the show, 'cause it's who they were in that game. So anyway, speaking of James, I don't know if this is the first time we've actually heard this or seen this before, because when Simmons and Daisy are waiting to see the list of names of the Inhumans that could be getting killed, one pops up, the last one pops up, and it was James, but in the little like where the name is, it says JT James. I'm not sure if they've actually confirmed it before this, but that is what his name is in the comics. His name is actually James Taylor James. So I'm assuming that they're doing James Taylor James in from comics, because this is Hellfire. But I just assumed that they were just going to give James's name, then have like a little random last name. But apparently it's going to be James Taylor James, like the comics. But when they actually go meet him and all that kind of stuff, we find out that he was working at a fireworks store, and it's basically a nod to his comic book, where Daisy actually goes to see him to bring him into S.H.I.E.L.D. / the Secret Warriors in the comics. But in the comics, he actually works at a convenience store, not a fireworks store, so it's nice that they're doing like a little nod. And they also did a little nod to where he's actually evil. He's actually in the comics he has an alliance with Hydra, but in the show he actually has an alliance to the Watchdogs. So, and he turns out evil both ways. And it's nice that they're not doing the relationship, because they've already done that with Ward and Lincoln. In the comics, they're Hellfire and Daisy or Quake are known to be in a relationship, but then he turns out to be evil. So why do that again? Because you've already done that with Ward, and then you have already had a relationship with aspects of the Hellfire from the comics, and with Lincoln. So yeah, technically already had two Hellfire characters. Bringing in Hellfire himself and having a relationship with Daisy again would just be repetitive, pretty much, to me. But yeah, and they gave a little nod to Ghost Rider's iconic weapon is the chain, which a lot of people were predicting it was predicting that the chain on the San Diego Comic-Con's train was going to be a Hellfire, but it turned out to be Ghost Rider, and people were confused that I thought Robbie Reyes doesn't have a chain, which I I don't read the comics. I've mentioned this before, but I even knew that Robbie Reyes has used a chain in the comics before. Like all I have to do is look it up and find out this he uses a chain in the comics. So I don't know where everyone is saying that Robbie Reyes doesn't use one, but yeah. And uh, like little name drops and whatnot were Hive and Whitehall and Fury and Red Skull. For Whitehall, Fury, and Red Skull, they were all looking for the Darkhold book called the Book of Sins, which they actually officially called it the Book of Sins because that's what it is in the comics. So it's nice that they're going full out Book of Sins and all that magical stuff that comes with it, the Darkhold itself. But with Whitehall, Fury, and Red Skull, they were all looking for the book, the Darkhold book, and I can understand Fury not finding it because we don't know how long Joseph and Lucy had the book for, because they could have had it for years and years and years, and we don't know how long Fury was looking for it. So, but for Red Skull and Whitehall, people were confused that what those are Hydra agents. So weren't they trying to get Hive back onto the planet? Yes, Hydra. Some of Hydra's plans were to get uh, Hive back onto planet Earth, but that was the religious aspect of Hydra. That was Gideon's Hydra. Like there's two separate Hydras in this universe. The religious one that was Gideon's, and then the science that is Whitehall and Red Skull. So Red Skull and Whitehall were looking for the Darkhold book, while Gideon was looking for a way to get Hive back to the planet. Yeah, and I just love this that because my favorite movie of all time is Grease. That they did like a little homage to the Grease final fight like race, and it's just I just loved it because they've done this before with taking little aspects of movies from like in the pilot they basically did their own spin on Back to the Future's flying scene, and then also they did a little spin on Pulp Fiction at a restaurant with Ward and Kara in season 2. So to bring that back, like bring aspects from another movie into their show is nice that they did that, and they did my favorite movie of all time. So it's nice to do that. Uh, they also basically referenced Coulson being dead again, and they basically saying that they should make T-shirts, but I don't think they're gonna do that because that would be kind of silly. But it'd be kind of cool if one of the fans of the show actually did that. I'm not gonna do it because I've only made one shirt in my life, so I'm not gonna do that after that. And while uh, uh, Daisy and Simmons are waiting for names to pop up on the list, of like a list keeps popping up and everything like that. So I slowed the video down to see what the names popped up. Some of them came up as famous artists, and then a character that was from the DC comics for some reason. I don't remember what his name was, but it was Charles something. But another name came up called Charles Black. So I looked that up, and apparently there's a Charles Black water in the comics, and he actually uses a sword that banishes demons. That's kind of cool. That I don't know if that was like they did that on purpose, but that's what popped up in the on Google. Charles Black water. I don't know if they were trying to reference him or not, but it's cool that if they did was we're dealing with demons on the show, so why not have demons on, like, in like a little reference or not? So yeah, that's about it that I could catch. Other than like maybe there could be a connection to Ghost Rider and Hellfire, because in the comics, Hellfire is actually related to the very first Ghost Rider. But now he's known as the Phantom Rider, which they could retcon it for the MCU, where like they did with the movies as well, have bring in Carter Slade and actually be connected to the Ghost Rider lore that is from the comics, having it be the uh, Spirit of Vengeance and stuff like that, because that would basically explain away why Hellfire's uh, powers only work on a chain. Like the Hellfire only works on a chain, but everything else explodes. So yeah, but for basically predictions, I can the only thing I could think of is basically Simmons, Fitz and Simmons' relationship is gonna go for a rocky road. I'm hoping I'm wrong, because I was wrong about pretty much everything last week, but uh, Simmons has to go to lie on a lie detector test, and we've known this for years that she's not the best liar at all, and uh, I'm assuming she's going to get caught in a lie, and she's going to have to actually basically confess what exactly is going on, and it's going to have a bit of a split, but yeah, but she's taken Fitz and Simmons took the relationship very well last episode, which is a lot better than other shows, uh, uh, other superhero shows, because if it was on another channel, it would basically be like split out throughout episodes and episodes and episodes of couples being mad at each other or mad at each other. But Simmons and Fitz were so strong that they did not care at all that they were being one was being lied to another. So yeah. So comment down below what you thought of this episode, and if I missed any kind of Easter egg references and whatnot, and what do you want to see in the future episodes. See ya.